Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going In Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going In Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. It's Wednesday. That means it's time to hear your hot takes, and then we will talk about said hot takes. So who's on the hot seat today?
Heel Velsper says here, hot take. Netflix Raw has ruined the current Bloodline story arc.
So maybe to add a little bit of context to this one, there is a second one. Jonathan Novak says, if drunk driving, Cody hugging Rock torpedoes the hottest story the company's done in years with a hug and an IG Live post, it'll be the most baffling creative move of the Triple H era and makes Bad Blood's Rock cameo even more nonsensical than it already was. So you got the Bloodline. You got us theorizing and speculating over the past 8-9 months or whatever it's been over, hey, what role does the final boss play in this, if any? Are they going to revisit, given that the Raw after Mania, it seemed like the certainty they would revisit things. And one corporate director of the board promo and an IG Live post where he was backstage drinking and driving. Literally. Yeah. Showed him drinking from a bottle and getting into a truck.
Swigging right from his bottle of tequila.
Yeah. The Rock seemingly has, dithered away. Give the old Thanos snap to the Cody Rock thing. Yeah.
No, it was an interesting move last night. Seemingly Rock and Cody squashing whatever issues they had. I guess that kind of lingering stare down between Rock and Roman can be construed as maybe a tease, if it's ever paid off, which is a massive if, given the Rock's schedule. I saw some sentiment yesterday after Raw that I thought was interesting and maybe worth discussing with kind of this in mind, in that last night's Raw on Netflix wasn't necessarily written and produced from a creative standpoint for us who watch Raw on a regular basis.
Okay.
The show was written to appeal to a broader audience and an audience of people who either were aware of Rock, Undertaker, so on and so forth, or at least we're familiar with the names. I mean, everybody knows who Dwayne Johnson is.
Everybody knows The Rock.
So if a casual wrestling fan or a lapsed wrestling fan or just someone who's aware of Dwayne and his role in Hollywood tunes in because they hear the buzz about Raw on Netflix, is it wise from a marketing perspective for WWE to put the final boss out there?
Mm-hmm.
Or board of directors Dwayne Johnson out there to introduce the show to bring in fans who don't keep up with the current product?
If you have I understand that philosophy. And look, obviously, clearly, even though the matches involved were matches that had been built up to for a period of time, a long period of time in certain cases, even though they did offer up those matches using competitors who were there week to week, every single, for the most part, every week, most of them anyways. Giving us in media res Rock, final boss, if you will, coming back to settle a score might not have been, the wisest thing to do. That being said, if I had any inkling that The Rock would come back, was interested in coming back for a Cody match, they would have presented it in a different manner. They would have presented him in a different manner. I agree 1,000%. It's clear as day that Raw on Netflix debut is not going to look like Raw on Netflix week 2.
No.
Like Gunther was in a video package, which I think was a blunder. I think that was a bad move.
Absolutely.
If I think that the most obvious, and maybe because they think that Cena's going to get the Cody title, that they didn't have Gunther approach Cena. But Gunther should have had an in-person role.
Absolutely.
If they're going to do Gunther Seth after, like, have him come out at the end or something, I don't know. Have him either approach Rollins, Punk, somebody who he's going to have a match with sometime in the next 6 months. You know, like, the dude should have his presence known.
Yeah.
In any event, getting back to The Rock and to the Bloodline, look, we all knew where the Roman solo stuff was headed. Mm-hmm. Roman reclaiming the Ula Fala. Mm-hmm. That happened in a match that was befitting the Bloodline. Whether you like it or not, it was an overbooked pay-per-view, big pay-per-view level match. It was a bloodline match.
Yeah. It was one of the good Bloodline matches, not one of the long, drawn-out, boring ones.
Right, yeah. And again, some people might think that a regular Bloodline match like this is what you just said, long, drawn out, and boring. I happen to like most Bloodline matches. I think they're fun. I think the overbooked stuff at the end, I think was a lot of fun. The multiple finishers kicking out of shit. I think that's all fun stuff. We can agree to disagree if there are people out there who aren't into that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the Netflix Raw has ruined the current Bloodline story arc, because I don't think it was ever, us speculating that The Rock is behind Solo Sikoa does not make it happen, Larson. We are mere fantasy bookers in our own universe.
But I don't disagree with you, but I wonder if there is a way they could have handled The Rock's appearance that left the door open for possibilities while still presenting Dwayne as board of directors Dwayne as opposed to final boss. As it relates to Cody, as it relates to Roman, even if something as simple as, hey, Cody, thank you for putting the company in your back for this last year. Roman, my cousin, thank you for being tribal chief. And just alluding to, well, if I was here, all that might be different.
I will absolutely 1,000% agree on the Cody aspect of things. I think I'll put it this way. Had he not even referenced Cody, I think the Roman stuff would be a bit more pronounced in terms of the minds of the fans, because there was a moment he took off his glasses and stared at the guy in the eyes to make sure. And because you can take that moment of him taking the glasses off 3 months from now, 2 months from now, whatever, you can go back to that moment and have him say, I looked in your eyes and I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take that off you because I don't think you have what it takes. You can literally take that moment where he takes his glasses off. That can happen. Is it overt? No, absolutely not. The Cody stuff is hilarious. And I agree 1,000% with anybody who says, what a crazy way to end the Cody feud. I agree 1,001%. Absolutely. I thought that was ridiculous. I think it was silly. And it had all, I'm trying to pinpoint the exact analogy I'm trying to make here. But when there's a breakup and somebody in the breakup wants to be overt about, I've moved on and there's nothing left here, but I'm good with it. But under the subtext, in the subtext there's a little bit of like, I didn't get what I wanted, and that's why I'm making a show of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I raised your expectations with Cody, but now I'm walking away, but I'm going to act like everything's cool, even though I know it hurts you. You know what I mean? Well, there's that kind of like aspect to it.
And also, you got to view things when it comes to The Rock through the prism of, part of it is he's just not getting his way.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's exactly. But him not getting his way, but being overly nice guy and torpedoing the Cody thing by being overly nice guy, which is a very manipulative thing.
It really is. Yeah, that was a creative mistake. But again, if it's a situation where, The Rock says, hey, I might have one more match in me at some point, and the company decide, well, that match is going to be Rock Roman, not Rock Cody. And then I guess, there's like, hey, well, this is a loose end. We got to tie up somehow. How about they just share a drink backstage and squash their beef? All right, fine. How about we do it on Instagram? All right, that's the way to go.
I mean, here's the thing. When we say creative blunder, make no mistake. Nobody planned for this. This wasn't Triple H at his typewriter, evidently. This wasn't Triple H at his typewriter. Do we know what's a typewriter brand? Is Remington a typewriter brand?
I don't know. My parents used to have one in the closet for the longest time, and I remember it.
Hold on, typewriter. Hey, Remington, I'm right.
Good
Remington's a typewriter model. I looked it up.
I could see the brand, but I don't remember what it is.
It might have been a Remington because these things are everywhere.
That would have rung a bell.
Man, that was a big one. Anyways, I don't think Triple H is getting on his Remington or brand unknown if it's in your closet and typing up Rock's promo. It's Rock's segment, and dude, it's Dwayne Johnson. He's gonna do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and then he's gonna come backstage, and you're gonna give him a hug 5 times, and then try to shake his hand, and he's gonna leave you hanging. That's what Dwayne's gonna do, Larson.
Yep, 1,000%.
Boy, that was funny. One of the best hanging handshakes. I always keep an eye. I always got a keen eye for that kind of shit. You know, my memory's crap, but to watch human interaction in real time.
The awkward social situations, yeah.
Oh, is one of my favorites. It's like Kevin Garnett when he tried to go for that high five, and instead he just gave the old point. Hilton and I still do that shit when we see each other. It's great.
It's pretty funny. All right, we got a couple hot takes here about streaming deals. Exciting.
Oh, awesome.
So Less Than Lucid here says, hot take. WWE and AEW streaming deals will not bring either company more popularity or larger audiences, despite the opportunities both Netflix and Max provide. Neither company is really doing anything that would draw long-term attention from anyone outside of the wrestling bubble. I see the move to streaming platforms more as a way to keep up with the times as more people move away from cable TV packages. So I will say this. Leading up to Raw last night, I saw a lot of people speaking anecdotally about how people they know, people in their social circles, heard about Raw on Netflix and decided to watch, even though they were not wrestling fans. It wasn't, obviously like a huge number of people, but I saw it several times come up. So, is it a matter of 300 people more watched Raw last night than normal because it was on Netflix? Hey, it's a possibility you just grew your audience by 300 more people, and if they all enjoyed it, word of mouth can expand upon that, maybe. I don't know. Like a lot of things, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think the idea of WWE being on the largest streaming platform in the world with this enormous reach to broadcast Raw live around the world, that sounds great.
Yeah. It
sounds great. Will it expand their audience? I don't know. By any significant margin? I don't know. I don't think AEW's move to Max is going to expand their audience by any significant margin either.
So I agree with that. I don't think Max is going to do shit for AEW. You know why? From a user standpoint, I got on Max to watch AEW, and it wasn't obvious. They did not make a big deal about it.
It wasn't on the front page at all. No.
It was not on the front page. I was like, okay, I got to go searching for this shit now.
I think you have to go to the BR Sports.
That's where I went after looking around the homepage a little bit. Max didn't do shit for AEW.
No.
And I don't think it's going to do shit for them. I think it's the exact opposite for WWE Netflix. Larson, you and I had an audience of over 1,000 watching live with us for an episode of Raw.
Yeah.
That is almost WrestleMania numbers for us. And this is all anecdotal. We had many people in our chat saying this is the first time they've watched it in a long time, or they're coming back to it after being gone for X number of years. Might be 10, might be 2, might be 1. There are any number of circumstances that will drive people to your product. I know somebody who, and again, this is all anecdotal. I know somebody who came back to wrestling during pandemic because it was, hey, I enjoyed it when I was a kid, and me and my kid, we can't go out and do anything, so we decided to bond over watching wrestling. Anecdotally, also on social media, I saw tons of people say they came back to check out Raw on Netflix. You cannot tell me. And part of it is within the context of this hot take here, says, I see the move to streaming platforms more as a way to keep up with the times as more people move away from cable TV packages. Inherent in that statement is an attempt to get more people that have moved on to more up-to-date ways to view content. They are moving there. That's where the people are. WWE was on Netflix's homepage. Now, I haven't gone back on Netflix today to see if it's like in the top 10 or whatever the metric thing they use. I'm assuming I see you typing right now. That's where you're going to go.
Squid Game's on the splash page now.
Everybody loves it. Apparently, they were the number one.
It says here, top 10 TV shows in the U.S. today, Monday Night Raw, right ahead of Squid Game.
At what number?
Number one.
Number one. So I don't know what that means. I looked it up. So like Netflix has their own internal reporting that they publish.
I read about that for the first time today.
So I read that they release an engagement report twice a year. But then I also saw on there, like when they were talking about, I did see a top 10 that had viewing statistics. But here's the thing. It's all Netflix releasing it internally. For all we know, Larson, when somebody hovers over Raw and it autoplays, that counts.
It's like the attendance at WrestleMania 3.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
These numbers could be entirely kayfabe. We don't know.
We have no clue.
So I'll add this. And I should have specified this before. Obviously, when WWE makes a huge move to a new platform like this, it's going to get eyeballs on it because it gets a lot of press.
Yeah.
The key is how many of these people who tuned in to Raw for the first time ever, for the first time in a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case may be, are going to be so intrigued by the product that they're going to stick around. You know, that's kind of the key is, all right, you can get eyeballs on Raw because of the huge move and the press push for it. But is there going to be a longevity to this new audience you're drawing in? And that's really the key. That's not something we're going to be able to find out for a while. We're 5 weeks down the line where, I don't know, Chad Gable is wrestling Ludwig Kaiser at the top of the third hour. People are like, all right, I want Dwayne. And they tune out.
You also have to wonder if they are going to, this is going to be I think this might be the more interesting aspect of things, talking about the old Remington typewriter. I have no doubt that Netflix has probably a ridiculously sophisticated, and I remember this was brought up in, god dang, what TV show was this brought up in? There was like a narrative TV show where the character had a streaming deal, had a show streaming, and because like within the first 8 minutes it didn't like pop the algorithm.
Wasn't that Barry?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was Barry. They canceled it. I have no doubt that's based in reality, in cold reality.
Yeah.
And so given that they can probably track with terrifying accuracy who pops the number and who doesn't, you're going to start seeing people getting pushed that are popping the Netflix algorithm.
Entirely possible.
And so it'll just be interesting to track over the next year if there are shifts in creative to satisfy the Netflix algorithm. But in terms of, I mean, you know, dude, it's like anything. You cast a net, and it's this is this really silly analogy, but it always cracks me up. Whenever we raid somebody on Twitch or we get raided, it throws a bunch of people at you, right? And then what happens? People who, because we're not exactly the people that were just watching, you know, as Bruce Green, for example, it gets whittled away. But hey, a couple might stick around. So like anything else, is it going to be a one-to-one thing? Fuck no, of course not. Absolutely not. They're not going to retain 100% of the new eyeballs.
And I don't know what the goal would be. Is it 20%, 10%, 5%?
No idea. No clue.
You know, I'm sure there's
most
numbers
possible.
There's, you know, like ideal circumstances versus acceptable versus disappointment. I'm sure they have those numbers in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't know what they are. We don't know what the goals are, the viewership goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime that you have a huge potential, and here's another thing too, is they loaded up this card and pushed it as a pay-per-view level event.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone, you have a main event which people have been itching to see for a long time. You have the culmination of Roman and Solo's feud. You have Rhea getting her title back. There's a lot of major storylines that are either hitting their stride or coming to an end at this show, that by themselves, even if it's on the USA Network, people would tune in for it.
Mm-hmm.
You add that on top of the move to Netflix. Yeah, the initial viewership numbers are probably going to be pretty good if we ever see them. It's 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks down the line. What do those numbers look like? Are they more in line with what Raw was getting on USA? Are they pretty consistent in that regard? Do they see a consistent bump? That's going to be the key.
We're like,
and right now, given how so much in entertainment is niche in wrestling, even in the world of entertainment, pretty darn niche.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm somewhat skeptical about WWE seeing any seriously significant jump in viewership just because they moved to Netflix. There's going to have to be a more concerted effort, I think, on a regular basis, doing shows like we saw last night, not to the same degree, but obviously like these super shows, super Raws, to garner attention, but they have to fall in line with the stories they're telling. They just can't throw stuff out there.
Well, yeah, dude, look, like anything, they're gonna have to put on a good product. That's the bottom line. However you want to cut that, they're gonna have to put on a good product. You know, because you're right, they're not gonna have The Rock every single week. They'll have Cena like a lot, I think.
What's weird though, because he tweeted, I don't know, yesterday or after the show or this morning, "Thanks, Los Angeles. See you February 1st." Making it seem like he's not going to be back till the Rumble.
Well, that's only 3 weeks from now. But yeah, like anything, dude. Of course, you gotta, the next. Hey, Squid Games 1. Season 2, episode 1 had a pretty good cliffhanger. Makes me want to watch episode 2. I haven't yet. Makes me want to. We're rewatching The Americans. I'm on that Criterion channel. Watched an old Brian De Palma movie the other day.
Oh, which one?
First, Sisters. I watched like the first, 20 minutes of it. Margot Kidder.
Yeah.
She
I've
plays the
seen
French
that
girl.
one. We had one called like Hey Mom or something like that. I've seen that one.
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe that'll be next. Anyways, next up for us, Larson, we need to talk about some sponsors for today's episode.
We do. Let's take a quick break here and get a word from our sponsor, DraftKings Pick 6. The NFL playoffs are here and time is running out to play DraftKings Pick 6 as the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL. DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else.
Getting started with Pick 6 is super easy, too. All you got to do is select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat like touchdowns, yardage, sacks, and more. And get this, DraftKings is now making it even sweeter for first-time players. New Pick 6 customers play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits.
So win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RAW. That's code RAW for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
All right, we got some disclosures for DraftKings Pick 6, so we're going to go ahead and roll those disclosures right now.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, and we got another sponsor for today's show, Larson.
We do. And this episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve, with the new year comes 365 blank pages waiting to be filled with the story of your year. And while resolutions might not last past February, you can still pick up the pen and become the author of your own life.
And therapy can be your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create the story that you want to live.
My story for old Larson. Gosh, it was a real bummer in my mid-20s. Just a real bummer. I was dealing with severe anxiety, not doing a whole lot of anything, when I realized that I had to go to therapy. Therapy helped me learn the tools I needed to better cope with my anxiety and help me write the story of the life that I, Larson, wanted to live.
And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. With BetterHelp, you can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties and easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost.
So write your own story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. Raw.
All right, man. Let's move on to our next hot take, this time from The Real TJP. The Real TJP says wrestling streaming wars will be bigger and better than the televised competition. The wrestling streaming wars. So
Televised. Oh, like as opposed to the Monday Night Wars?
I guess so. I guess like the streaming numbers will be okay, let me try to extrapolate from this and see if I can find maybe what we're talking about here, because obviously, as we just talked about, streaming numbers, Netflix, I guess, provides them once every either weekly or once every 2 years. Twice a year. I don't know.
Semi-yearly.
Yeah, right. Max, I don't know. I think this, number one, I think the whole issue of tribalism being fueled by ratings is probably going to be a thing of the past to a degree.
Dude, I saw a tweet before Raw last night where they were comparing, I don't know, like the share of viewership across all streaming platforms, and there was this pro WWE account, since Netflix is number one in that regard by a significant margin.
Oh, are they? Okay, I didn't know that.
That was like, AEW stuck with crap stream service. There's barely above, I don't know, like Pluto TV or something like that. Because like Max gets, it was like 1%. I don't know the accuracy.
Okay, number one, why is anybody talking shit about Pluto? But continue.
Yeah. I don't know the accuracy of this graph, but it had like Max and
Amazon Prime probably.
Yeah,
Tubi.
and like Disney Plus. Yeah, Tubi,
Okay.
all like in the 1 to 2%, and then Netflix, like way ahead of everybody else.
Wow.
Again, I don't know the accuracy of this graph, but again, somebody using, these wrestling.
It's so dorky.
Yeah, it's the lamest thing. It's the absolute
dorky.
lamest thing.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like without knowing, I'll say this. Maybe to try to get some sort of conversation out of this particular hot take. Like we just talked about, if Netflix, if their algorithm starts to inform WWE's creative, or if WWE got their, that $5 billion deal and wants to make the most of it so that it actually does end up being $5 billion, because it's I think $5 billion is like the max potential of the deal.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But it has to hit certain milestones and has to be extended out to that $5 billion after the first 5 years, I want to say, something like that. And so maybe the idea is both companies are going to try their damnedest and bring their A game in order to, for example, like with AEW, we've got Maximum Carnage. Who knows if we would have gotten Maximum Carnage if not for the Max deal, the WWD deal. With WWE, maybe they will try to load up as many Super Raws as they can and give us and allow us fans to eat pretty good. Maybe that's the idea, because there have been times when WWE has phoned it in from, one pay-per-view to the next, or one major, big four to the next big four. And in AEW, there's been, a huge spans of time when it's like, man, are they really even trying right now? So maybe we're set to eat a little bit better because they have found these big streaming deals.
I mean, I would understand that more so for WWE, because Raw is, at least here in this, I guess worldwide, the exclusive home to that program. So, it succeeds or fails based on its performance on Netflix. That's not the case with AEW programming. Max, I don't even know what percentage of their viewership would be on Max versus cable. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'd be more than happy if AEW is like, well, we got to book better shows so we could pop better numbers on Max.
Yeah.
In theory, we'd get better at Dynamites and whatnot. But I just don't know, since I don't know what the fragmentation of the audience is between their cable platforms versus streaming platforms for that to be any sort of significant impact on how they approach their shows.
Okay, so I'm looking at this. This is actually on Netflix. If you go to netflix.com/tadum, Tudum. I think that's the alliterative version of the tudum, you know? And then
Wait, say it again?
TUDUM / the word top and then the number 10 and then / TV. I don't know when this is updated.
No.
But it has purported viewing numbers by Netflix, and it says it's updated weekly. It says global this week. Christmas, the two NFL games, according to this, got 14 million views each. And then it has everything else. So, like, theoretically, it'll let us know, like, what is going on here. I don't see Squid Games in here, but maybe this is prior to Squid. Maybe this is before Squid Games dropped. Squid Games, I think, dropped on the 26th.
Yeah.
So this week's top 10 also includes NFL Christmas. Yeah, I mean, it says Squid Games was viewed like 68 million by 68 million people. So I don't know. Maybe if this is actually something that is updated on a weekly basis, we'll know more every week.
We will.
Kayfabe those numbers.
They got global, and you can go by territory.
Having to trust that Netflix is.
Yeah.
These are proper
Accurate.
Numbers.
Accurate.
I get the feeling that every week we're gonna look at these and we're just gonna clown the shit out of them. Larson.
Yeah, probably. It's like, there's no way that. Well, and it's too, if it says globally 30 million people watch Raw, I mean, you can go country by country in that same thing. So, I mean, if historically we use their United States viewership numbers as the basis comparison, and suddenly, somebody's going to go on there and be like, oh, look at 30 million people watch Raw compared to 500,000 for Dynamite.
Yeah, right.
That's going to happen.
Not taking into account that, we like the Dynamite +7s, which this would be basically the +7 globally.
It would be.
But anyways, people are gonna take all this info and they're gonna use it to justify their pre-existing opinions. This next hot take here from Javier, the blind cinephile, says, even if Hogan wasn't booed out of the building, which was hilarious, WWE needs to move away from having legends cut promos like that or how Taker appeared. I'd rather see today's superstars be showcased more, even if it was a few seconds. Crowd shots of them are fine, maybe even a Mania cameo, but we don't need them in the rest of the shows. So I was thinking about this today as I was doing my WrestleJuice hot takes deal. And they're kind of in a funny situation as it pertains to their history. Because as we saw in the video package last night, no Vince McMahon. Mm-hmm. So, and then now if they have to back off from Hogan, you're not going to see a ton of Hogan era. You can't show a ton of the Attitude Era beyond just like some visuals here and there because it was really risque stuff, non-PC, whatever you want to refer to as shit that gets you canceled today. And like, what are they going to do? Like show Ruthless Aggression era shit? They've got enough history where if they want to do a nice video package omitting that stuff, they can do it as we saw last night. You just take Hogan out of the stuff if they're going to go that route. But I don't know. I think I'm probably in the unpopular opinion crowd or the minority here who, look, if Hogan wasn't, if it was Austin instead of Hogan last night, people would go crazy and I think it'd go over fine. Taker, was it a little bit, I thought it was unintentionally hilarious, but I get what they were trying to do. Triple H sees Rhea in that sort of badass persona that The Undertaker used to have. And so he drew a parallel there. Was it funny? Did it make any sense? Yes, and then no. That being said, I thought it was fine. I just don't give a shit. Like, people know Undertaker. So put him out there. Who cares?
If it's a situation, of course, this isn't ideal, a situation where bringing in legends, part-timers for appearances can enhance the stories being told, all right. Just kind of that general rule of thumb, all right. But, like, that segment with Hogan, just the idea of him coming out there and plugging his beer and plugging the Netflix partnership for like the 5th time over the course of the episode. Like that segment, regardless of who was doing it, was unnecessary for the overall context of the show. And yeah, if you had Stone Cold go out there, plug his beer, and say thank you to Netflix, it would have gone over better, without a doubt. Stone Cold is not around a lot, so when he shows up, it feels like an event. And
there's also, let me just sort of add to your point that you're making here, because I agree to a degree. With Stone Cold comes off as less of a huckster than
he does, yeah.
Than Hulk Hogan coming out and shilling the beer.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like the disingenuous nature of it, given his past and clearly how people are like kind of over him.
Yes.
Didn't he get booed in like Tampa or something?
Yeah.
He did, right? This is not Tampa, you're in deep blue territory, buddy.
Basically, every time he shows up,
there's boos
at a show. People boo him. This is not a new occurrence. No.
This is not a regional aspect.
No.
Yeah. I remember I was like, well, Florida doesn't even, they even booed him in Florida.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hogan just gets booed now.
But like I don't see Stone, like it sort of goes against Stone Cold's character.
It does. Yeah, like you wouldn't imagine him going out there and plugging his beer.
Thanks, Netflix.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something he would do. But you brought up Stone Cold as an example.
Sure. Yeah. It would have had to have been in a different context, I think.
It would have. But if it was in this context, him just doing a promo to plug his beer on Netflix, it added nothing to the show other than Stone Cold was there.
It'd have been a waste of time. Yeah.
It would have been a waste of time. The Undertaker one, you could probably make the argument either way. I think overall what we saw since Triple H has taken over is what generates interest more than anything else, especially long-term, is telling interesting stories. And I think if there's a way that they could have brought Undertaker in, I'll use him as an example, to do something. Like if it's a situation, I don't know, this is a small thing, but I thought about this. If it's a situation where Rhea wins, the Undertaker aspect of it felt so tacked on.
Mm-hmm.
That I was like, all right, this seemed like something that was decided on last minute, and apparently it kind of was.
Okay.
That just to kind of get Undertaker on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can try to make some connection as to why that was the case. But when you get down to it, it felt like they just wanted to get Undertaker on the show.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But if, in terms of doing it the most effective way, maybe Undertaker presents Rhea with the title. Something like that. Because it kind of felt like the important moment that we were supposed to notice in the course of the post-match stuff was not Rhea winning the belt. It was getting the acknowledgement from the Undertaker. Because that's when the pyro went off.
They did the whole thing. With her giving Dom she got hers. They had plenty of shine with her in the title.
When she holds up that title, you should have the pyro going off then, because that's the punctuation.
I don't disagree with that, but she held up the title. We acknowledged her.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The
but it just felt like the punctuation of that whole post-match sequence was she gets the acknowledgement from the Undertaker, and I felt like
I don't know, man. I think it's a bit. That's again. I know I'm in the unpopular opinion here. I think it's kind of much ado about nothing, and I get it. Like, yeah, it was silly. It was absolutely silly for Undertaker to come out, but like it was all 30 seconds. Like it was like whatever. Like she had her moment. He comes out to kind of like, I guess, pass some sort of weird torch, and then they split. He awkwardly drives away and she walks. So I don't know. I don't think. Look, man, I'm with you in terms of like what matters the story. I get it. But like you can just have a fun moment here and there too. That doesn't have to be part of some grand plot.
No fun. But again, if you if you view this as this episode of Raw was not meant for you and me, per se. You have Undertaker on there because it appeals to the casual fans. This is meant for
Bob Squid Games. I want to watch the latest Squid Games. I remember WWE. I remember Stone Cold. I'll watch this. Hey, Undertaker, I know him. Yes, you're right. It's meant for Bob Squid Games. Absolutely,
it's not meant for you or me. So we got to try to keep that in mind. Next hot take here from the Wallinator. Says there is no reason to have Punk beat Rollins. He proved he can still go against Drew. His accolades make him a credible title contender at any point. He's still going to be a top merch seller, win or lose. It just makes Rollins look like a chump. Isn't that Rollins' role, kind of?
Oh, wow.
He lost to Cody 3 times.
Hot take. Wow, no, one of them, Cody didn't have a pec.
I know. He had one chest muscle intact.
Heck, no way.
Yeah, heck no way. I mean, this is not a first-time role for Seth Rollins here.
I get but here's the thing, though. This is not going to go unrewarded. Seth's going to beat Gunther.
Probably. But then he's going to lose to Punk for the title.
Yeah, but before that, he's going to beat Gunther. He's totally going to lose that title to Punk. But before that, he's going to beat Gunther.
Yeah. And then he's going to lose to Punk, and the Triple H is like, after you lose to Punk and he wins the title, you got to shake his hand because then you realize then that Punk's in it for the right reasons. It's going to totally chump him out.
Man, poor. Is Seth Rollins the Bret Hart of his day?
You could make that case.
You could, right?
Yeah,
you could.
Yeah. A good wrestler, a good overall performer, a really good overall performer.
Yeah.
That they will rely on at times, but not ever fully commit to as the guy. Yeah. You could totally make that analogy. Yeah.
Gets chumped out by part-timers?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or dudes who left the company,
founded
the competition, and came back to a hero's welcome and a $5 million contract.
Yeah.
Dan Hursty here with a hot take says Gunther's world title reign so far is fairly forgettable. This is maybe, in my opinion, the coldest take on here, Larson, because I think it has officially reached underwhelming by him having a video package on the biggest Raw of the last 10 years. Yeah. That was a mind. And it's funny because the words that you've used before.
What'd I say?
Inaccurately predicting how they were going to chart Gunther's path upon his return was, I know how Triple H feels about Gunther. And you're 1,000% correct. But man, oh man, I don't know if the blooms come off or what the deal is, but relegating him to a video package, is that how Triple H thinks of Gunther, Larson?
Here's the pivot point in all this. Crown Jewel. If he beats Cody, even because of Kevin Owens' interference, I think we're talking a lot differently about his title reign.
Yeah.
Because then, the premise of the whole thing is who's top champion in the company. And even if Gunther is not booked on a regular basis like the top champion of the company, listen, even if Cody had lost at Crown Jewel, nothing in terms of booking would have changed afterwards. Absolutely nothing in terms of his positioning within the company.
I agree.
But it could have done wonders for Gunther, even a bit of a tainted victory to say, I beat Cody, I beat the undisputed champion, I'm number one. It'd been like the one time since they come up with that World Heavyweight Championship where it could be seen as the top title.
Yeah.
That was a major misstep, I think, in terms of positioning of your champions, having Gunther lose that match, especially the way he lost.
Mm-hmm.
And they want this crisis of confidence story that lasted, 5 weeks? Gone. And none of it helped flesh out Gunther's character, really. Just made him look like a chump for 5 weeks. And now he's back to super confident Gunther.
On a video package.
I know.
A fucking video package, man.
Yeah.
Gunther.
No, the creative of Gunther's title reign has not done him any favors.
Not even in the crowd? He couldn't even be in the crowd. So can you imagine him sitting there in the crowd, watching everybody, I got my eye on everything that's going on.
He could have been in the crowd watching Punk and Rollins.
Right.
It would have made tons of sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
it would have made a
misstep.
shit ton of sense.
Massive misstep in terms of the creative of Gunther's title reign. Even going back to when he was just trolling everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I want Gunther to go out there and have the best matches and come off as super intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And a dude you don't mess with.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And when Damian Priest comes out and says, the ore is gone, Gunther. And then Gunther just believes it. I get it, because he got caught by Cody. He's a ring general. He shouldn't get caught by Cody.
Yeah. He should have squashed this. Wasn't that almost like a more egregious crime, though? Is he should have squashed his next opponent.
Yeah.
He should have come out with such a fire and intensity because he got caught.
Yeah.
Not Hey, Gunther, I know what you're going to do. Call me street trash. And Gunther's like,
I'm shook.
I'm
gosh.
shook. I'm so shook right now.
Because that's what happened after he lost to Sammy. He lost at Mania because of his hubris, came back and wrecked everybody.
Priest wasn't even on TV in America last night. On Ad's Way, anyways.
Yeah.
Priest wasn't even there. Like,
Nope.
you could have sacrificed him at the altar of Gunther. You could have done that.
Yeah.
And then give Priest a Christ the Common. Maybe I am street trash.
Yeah.
Maybe Gunther was right about me. I'm street trash.
Well, with that in mind, Darius Corey has a hot take. Damian Priest has peaked in his WWE career.
Hard to disagree with this one for now, anyways.
He needs a heel turn is what he needs.
Will he ever do anything better than his cash-in? Of course not.
I'd like to say yes because I like Damian Priest.
Me too.
I just haven't seen... creative get behind him to an extent which lead me to believe that he will.
Here's the thing too, dude. When he has his heel turn, it ain't even going to be original. It's going to be like following the Drew McIntyre template. Everybody else screws me over.
Yeah.
Finn Balor stuck in a feud with Finn Balor for 6 months.
Yeah.
While everybody else got to eat good. I was eating street trash.
There you go. That's your story right there.
Yeah, that's we're going to be sitting here. Oh man, what a great heel turn.
Yeah, we're gonna eat it up. Zach Eisenberg here. It's like, wow, this is great characterization. Such depth.
This is great. This is a great story.
Zach Eisenberg here says Nia Jax's title run elevated more people than most title runs in recent memory. So, before Nia lost the title, involved in that story, Tiffany, obviously, Candice
Looks better. I feel like Naomi had a little bit of a come up as
Bianca.
well. Bianca.
They were all in the mix
orbit.
there. And I would imagine will continue to be for the foreseeable future. So I guess in terms of if you're going to equate elevating with getting people involved.
Yeah. More
Then
more
absolutely.
Time. Yeah, more
Because
interest,
it
more
kind
layers.
of felt like it built to a crescendo
Yeah.
with Tiffany cashing in. And now we got to wait what the fallout is. You know, Bianca can rightly say, well, Tiffany, you wouldn't be able to successfully cash in if I hadn't hit the KOD on Nia. You know, there's a lot of people who can make, or Naomi. I might have been in position to win that match had you not interfered, Tiffany.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people now who can make the claim that they're owed a title shot from Tiffany after her cash in and the way she cashed in. So, yeah, I think you could possible to make that claim. Yeah,
I think it has been, and it really hasn't relied on repetition, the same thing over and over again. It's been kind of building, and I think they pulled the trigger on Tiffany at the right moment too. I don't think it got too overbearing. I don't think it was too, run into the ground. Timor here with a hot take says, for as great as the matches in the Continental Classic were, I feel like the entire thing is a massive waste of time because of how terrible the end prize is. Why go through this grueling tournament for a mid-card belt that could be won outside of the tournament? It needs a better prize for the whole thing to be worth it.
I don't disagree with this, and I think when they started the Continental Classic, I know they tried to make it seem like a huge deal because it was the Triple Crown at the time. It was a Ring of Honor title, the New Japan Strong, and the Continental title. But yeah, I don't disagree unless there's some stipulation where you could parlay a Continental title win to a but even then it's like, all right, let's wait till after the tournament and get a Continental title match and I'll win that and then I can cash in on the main title. Yeah, it kind of feels like it's a tournament where if you want it to be as prestigious as, say, a G1, then I feel like the reward for winning said tournament should be on the same level.
Which, by the way, it ain't. And nobody should have been suspended for 2 months for saying that. Because the G1 goes back to what, like 79 or some shit like that?
Yeah, it goes back for 40 plus years. Yeah.
It goes back a long ways. and they're billing this as one of the major tournaments. No, it's not. Like, you got to get some history behind it first for it to be considered prestigious. It's all wrestling, and it was all.
Well, and part of it's the stakes on the line too. If you get a title that during the course of the rest of the year you could win in a one-on-one match and not have to go through this grueling tournament.
Who was it? It was like 5-Star Wrestling that had the 128 man.
They were going to do that.
Yeah, where's that? Did Okada win that one? No, I don't think that one even happened.
I don't think it ever happened, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, dude, honestly, just reading this hot take right here gives me kind of like, it makes me dizzy because it's like, yeah, it is. It's a mid-card title, which Okada elevates. It's Okada. He's a big deal. Who's going to take that thing off him? Probably Kenny, who's a big deal.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it could be one outside the tournament. It's got some like, kind of special rules. Nobody can be with you.
No interference. Yeah.
Like last year it was for like 3 titles, but then it kind of wasn't. Like we thought, oh, Eddie's putting all these titles on the line during the tournament. No, that wasn't the case. Yeah, it's just like everything else AEW. It's like good intentions, I think, but sort of like shot themselves in the foot by just weirdness and a lack of attention to detail.
Yeah, and I get to an extent that they want to try to separate their tournament from the G1. You don't want to do a carbon copy. I get that.
The G1's pretty cool. Yeah, you know what? No, man, screw that. You do a carbon copy. Call it the G3. Why not?
Well, I was going to say, have the Continental title just be defended in that tournament, and whoever wins the tournament just has that title for the year. Don't defend it outside of the tournament.
So you're just like, I mean, that's sort of like the Owen, though, right? Like they get the title.
Actually, the Owen at this point has more stakes to it because you win the Owen, then you do get a title shot. That's how they did it last year.
Yeah, right. And you get your yearly title.
Yeah.
Because
they really put themselves in a real pickle then with that.
It's a bit of a pickle. AEW, that sort of describes AEW as a whole.
Yeah, they
really put themselves in a bit of a pickle here, didn't they?
Yeah.
All their controversies can be boiled down to, boy, they really put themselves in a pickle, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like watching a lot of prestige TV shows where people make bad decisions, put themselves in pickles, and then they have to make a choice. Do I make a good decision finally or another bad decision?
AEW is the Ozark of wrestling.
Yeah, in some ways it seems like it.
All right, man. Let's end on this one. Phoenix no Kiseki says Steven Larson, that's you and me, should attend Wrestle Kingdom 20 in 2026 to be in attendance for Tanahashi's last match. Question for you, Larson.
Yeah.
Is Wrestle Kingdom taking place at the Memorial Auditorium in 2026 or the Orangevale Community Center?
Nope, not even Golden One Center, Steve.
Golden One Center.
Nope.
What about Levi Stadium?
Nope. Wrestle Kingdom only takes place at one venue, and I believe you know what that venue is.
The Tokyo Dome.
Correct.
So, granted, the Tanahashi Glizzy is a draw for me. And
we have no guarantee that's going to be available in 2026. That was for this year's Wrestle Kingdom.
Man, look. It's 2025. By 2026, by 1 year from now, I'll be 1 year older than I am, which is already way too old. I don't want to get on one of these Boeings that is going to fall out of the sky.
Well, I'll say this. As far as the flight aspect of it, my understanding is Boeing dominates airplane sales, whatever, in the United States. Not necessarily the case internationally.
So we might get an Airbus if we go to Japan?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. It just seems like a task, you know.
Well, it's what, a 15-hour flight? Longer than that?
And then, like, we probably have to leave, like, right after New Year's, 15-hour flight, yeah. I mean, look, I wouldn't mind traveling, don't get me wrong. But probably not. I don't know, man, I'm not as familiar with Go Ace's career. I'm only familiar with Go Ace from 2017 on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know a lot of the history of Go Ace. I appreciate the guy. I think he's great. The air guitaring's cool, I guess. And, he was crying at that Kenny Omega Gabe Kidd match. But you and I are speculating that's basically because he had just had a Tanahashi Glizzy.
And was just overwhelmed by the transcendent nature of that Glizzy, yes.
Right, exactly. Hey, one day, how about this? Instead of us going all the way to Japan, which does actually sound really cool, but instead of us going all the way to Japan, how about you and I, the day of Wrestle Kingdom, but not the middle of the night because that's when Wrestle Kingdom airs. You come over here for the Friendo Awards next year, and or something afterwards, and we celebrate the career of Tanahashi by streaming some of his matches on Twitch, and we eat a couple of Tanahashi glizzies.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
I think that's a better idea than going all the way to Japan, hopefully getting like a decent seat there in the Tokyo Dome, which from what I understand, unless you live there, you can't get a good seat. I think that's a good idea.
I think that is a good idea. I'm
Yeah,
on board
but
with that.
Here's the thing. We don't have to wait a year to get those Tana glizzies.
No, we can do that anytime.
We can do it anytime we want to. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.